Alright guys, so we've covered bacteria and protists. Today and tomorrow we're going to work on marine algae. So these are actually protists that are multicellular, so they are not considered true plants because they don't have roots, stems, or an actual leaf. Okay, they are autotrophs, and what they do is they give oxygen and nutrition to things in the ocean, and how we classify them is the color of the pigments in their cells. So all of these things here are marine algae, okay, not a true plant. All right, so let's talk about how they reproduce really quickly, and this is what your assignment's going to be today. So the thallus is like the leafy part of the seaweed, what you and I would actually think was the leaf. These algae go through something called alternation of generations. And what that means is they spend part of their life cycle releasing spores, and they spend another part of their life cycle releasing sex cells, sort of like sperm and egg. So they spend part of their time reproducing asexually and part of their time reproducing sexually. Okay, so that gives them actually a little bit of advantage. So if you remember from regular biology, diploid means it has a full set of chromosomes. Haploid means it has half. So all cells in your body are diploid except for sperm and egg, and it's the same thing with them. Okay? All right, so fertilization is when sperm and egg unite, and the zygote is what you get right after fertilization takes place. So like we said, alternation of generations means they reproduce a phase of sexually, and then they reproduce asexually as well. So here's a picture of that, and you guys are going to recreate that in just a minute. Okay? All right, and there's a diagram of what you're going to do. Okay, so the groups of algae that I want to talk about today are green algae, brown algae, and red algae. We'll start with the green. They're called chlorophyta. They live in a variety of habitats, and they usually are attached to something. Okay, they are non-vascular, which means they do not have veins. So let me give you a close-up of this guy here. Okay, it almost looks like that's pretty much see-through. You don't see any veins and lines in it like you do like a normal plant. So that's more proof that it is actually a protist and not a plant. Okay, these are the most closely related group to plants, however, and their most abundant pigment is chlorophyll, and that's why they are green. So this is codium, this is acetabularia, and this is ulva. This is what we call sea lettuce. A lot of people use this as lettuce instead of what we use as lettuce. Okay, phylum Phaeophyta are your brown algae. They have a brown to olive green color, some yellowish colors in them. A lot of these we used for food preparation and products. Some of the largest seaweeds in the ocean are browns. They're called kelp. This is an example of that there. We get algin from some of these, and they're in foods and medications and paints and paper products. Okay, so this one is called laminaria, this one is called fucus, and this one is called sargassum. I think this one's really cool here because you can actually see these things that look like little grapes. They are actually contain air sacs, so they're like little tiny balloons, and that way it keeps the seaweed afloat so it doesn't like sink down to the bottom. So that's pretty cool. Okay. All right, then our other group here, phylum Rhodophyta. Rhodo means red. They have phycoerythrin and phycocyanin as their main pigments, so that's why they look reddish to bluish to purplish. They are the most abundant seaweed in the ocean, believe it or not, and they're also the most commercially valuable. These are usually found in deeper, colder waters because there's limited light available to them, and they can use that light that other algae cannot. Most of them are very thin and fragile, like this one you could actually see through. This one is called Porphyra or nori. This is actually the one that we make seaweed out of for sushi. And this one is called Corallina. It actually looks kind of like coral, and it's very fragile. Okay. All right, so we're going to do a lab when you guys come back to school, I guess Tuesday, so you can actually see the pigments in here. I'll probably do this with my other class tomorrow, and that we do that with chromatography, so I'm going to leave that for then, okay? And then the last group that are actually plants are called phylum Tracheophyta. It just means they actually have veins in them. They have true stems, roots, leaves and they reproduce with flowers and seeds. They're usually on or behind the dunes, and they can't be usually taller than the dunes because the the salt water actually harms them. So the two most popular marine grasses are marsh grasses and sea grasses. These are examples. This is called Spartina. If you've ever touched that, it'll actually cut you if you pull it up. Okay, reed grass is another example, and then different sea grasses are eelgrass and turtle grass. But we'll get to these a little bit more deeply another day. Okay? All right, so I know that was quick. If you would fill out your notes for me and then complete that assignment on the alternation of generations, and then we'll do something else again tomorrow. Thank you.